to give chizuk and idud to Klal Yisrael the world over. Ad b'yiskol tzedek and weiter. Mechayil l'chayil l'metz Hashem. In introducing her, if I could just share with you a small thought. We have a well-known Gemara Chazal tell us that at the moment that Rabbi Akiva, the Tana Eloki, that great illustrious sage, was enduring that torture by the Romans, Masreka Sharbalzel, scraping the skin off of Rabbi Akiva's back while he was still alive. And this is the Tana Eloki, this is the one that Menachos Chavtes Amud Beis, Moshe Rabbeinu himself said, Hashem Yisbarach, what are you giving the Torah through me? Halavai, you should give the Torah al Yedei Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva, in a certain sense, Moshe Rabbeinu said, is even greater than I am. This unbelievable, unparalleled Rabbi Akiva, who many Sfarim point out was actually Masig Dargis Chamishim, attained a lofty spiritual level that nobody attained in history. And this is the pain, this is the punishment that he seemingly had to endure. How do we understand it? How do we comprehend the tsar and the yisurin that the tzaddik Rabbi Akiva was put in a situation to endure? So the Gemara says that the Malach Yeshareis Taina, they came before a Kadosh Baruch Hu and they said, Hashem Yisbarach, Hazoi Torah, Hazoi Schara. This is someone who learned, who reviewed, who mastered the Torah Kadosha, who darshan tilin of halachas from the Tagin, those special crowns adorning the Osios HaTorah. And this illustrious, this pious and devout Rabbi Akiva, this is his schar for learning Torah, for conquering and knowing the Torah. What's going on? Hashem says, tell the Malach Yeshari, shto, keep quiet. Kach also b'machshava lefanai, such is what came to my mind. Hashem Yisbarach Kaviyachol responds, and if you don't keep quiet, the Malach Elyon, then I'm going to bring the world back to Tov Vavo. I'm going to restore the world back to Tov Vavo. Asur Shlomo Kluger writes in his drashas, what was this, a threat? God says, Malachi Asharis, my celestial court of angels, you don't remain silent. I'm going to destroy this world. Khalil Vachas, God is not saying he's going to destroy the world. Explains Shlomo Kluger in his drashas, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was answering the Malachim to teach Klal Yisrael, the Dorei Doros, an important and a monumental lesson. You want to understand the suffering, you want to understand predicaments and ordeals and the Yisurin that Klal Yisrael has to endure. There's only one way to understand. I would have to press the rewind button. I would have to be machzir the olam to tov avo. Hashem Yisbarach says to the Malach Elyon, and through them, through that emtsoy, he's disclosing to one and all. If you want to understand why tzoras have to be afflicting Yidden in a Holocaust, in pogroms, and crusades, why Yidden have to be suffering right here and right now in 2020 at Tov Shin Pei, Rachmana Litzlan, Yisurin after Yisurin, Sar Agmas Nefesh, I Abishter Dailet Sarasino. How do we understand it? Hashem says, just trust me. If you want to have any inkling, any snippet of what's transpiring in front of your own eyes, you can't understand it. You see but a snapshot of all of the world from beginning to end. But if you would press the rewind button, and I would take you back to the very beginning of time, Hashem answers his malachim. And I would show you all the myriad events unfolding before your own eyes, from the onset of creation, from the very outset in the creation of Adam Arishin, through door after door until you get to Tov Shin Pei, to the year we are in right now, 5780. After witnessing those 5,780 years, and you would see the interplay of all the billions, trillions, zillions of people, and all the world events, Ofen klali, ofen prati, if I would show you everything, then and only then, Hashem Yisbarach, would you understand, would you begin to have the slightest hasaga of what's going on in the right here, in the right now, in the present times in Tov Shin Pei. That's our Shlomo Kluger. Adds Rabbeinu Povarsky from Panovich, the Machaber of Bad Kodesh. Explains Rabbeinu Povarsky and a more pragmatic view from his perspective. He says, you know what Hashem was teaching us? He turns to the Malachim and he says, Malach Elyon, you want to understand the Tsar, you want to understand why do innocent people, Tzadikim, Rahman al-Tzad, you turn on Yeshiva World News, Matzav, and what people are hearing, even if you're not looking at all in the World Wide Web and the Internet. Just from what we're hearing, Nichbulu Atzaras, day after day, Rahman al-Tzad. Confirmed cases. People passing away way before their time, premature demise, people not around, the Tsar, the tears, Klal Yisrael. Explains Rabbeinu Povarsky, Hashem Yisbarach is teaching us that if I give you all the answers, then I took away the Tachlis Abriya. I have to bring the world back to Tovavo. Dahainu, the world was created to trust me. It's a world of emunah bitochen tzadik b'mnoso yichya. You're going to see things in your lifetime and you won't have a havana. You won't be able to understand it. And yes, and we'll read all the sforim about emunah and about bitochen and we'll get all the gevaldige chizik. But achareke chlos hakol, my dear beloved clients, so when all is said and done, you can have Rav Chaim Kanievsky's the Gedolei Hadar, but in the end of the day, we don't have Nevi'im Mamish today. And Hashem is not telling us exactly why these things are taking place. But how goofa, that precisely is the test of life, explains Abel Povarsky, the Ponovitch Rosh Hashiva. You don't have the answers, you never will get all the answers. Down here in this world, there are plenty of questions. We don't always have the answers. When we get up to the next world after 120, there won't even be any questions. But right here and right now, the Tachlis Abriya is to live as a Baal Emunah, to live as a Baal Bitochen, trusting HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's got a plan. He's got an intricately designed master plan that we cannot begin to fathom. We cannot begin in our wildest imaginations to grasp in the slightest shape, fashion, or form. You know what life is all about? Trust in the Almighty. Trust HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'll be somech on you. If you're somech on Hashem, you'll be b'simcha HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It doesn't make sense. But I'm not going to be maharach midosecha. The Tachlis Abriya is b'chira chavshus, means you get to choose. How do you want to react? What's going to be your attitude to the tzaras? What is the proper Yiddish hashkafa? What's the proper outlook, the perspective on the day-to-day tzaras? How do we get through each and every day? How do we deal with it? How do we put things into the respective compartments? How do we adopt the appropriate perspective so that we could carry on a life we could still be makayim to fulfill on a day-to-day basis? Ivdu as Hashem b'simcha. Baruch Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has graced not only clients, but has graced our community. We have wonderful people who have a tremendous koach to be machazek, to be ma'odeid. They don't always have all the answers. The Gedolei Hador don't have answers, but they give us the ability to be machazek ourselves, to strengthen ourselves, giving us strategies, tactics, perspectives, putting things and portraying them in the appropriate light so that we can continue to be machazek ourselves, continue to steig and to grow in all chelki avodas Hashem. We can continue our avas Hashem, our yiras Hashem, and we can continue being the best of the Hashem we could possibly be. And with that, I hand over this Zoom microphone to one of the best out there, to the incredible Mrs. Zehava Farbman, who is Siyata D'Shmaya will give you, to the best of her God-given ability, the chizik and the idud. Please give her your undivided attention. Let's share the chizik together. Let's grow together. And Amet Hashem, we will celebrate together with Bias Kol Tzedek. Meira v'yameinu, amen v'yamein, Mrs. Farm.
Amen, amen. Thank you, Rishus, Rabbi Feiner. And yes, in fact, Rabbi Feiner brought back memories of knowing Rabbi and Rabbi Feiner from many years ago in Camp Simcha, and being able to grow with them and follow them to the 5 towns, and really watch them as they took over leadership here in the 5 towns community. And Rabbi Feiner, really on behalf of the 5 towns community, the leadership role that you've taken in so many situations, but especially now, you're a role model, you're a manhig, and we're just so blessed to have you here. And Emir Hashem, we should just be with you in Yerushalayim and have New Year. What can I tell you? To be here with you, with my own community tonight, as we go through this tsar. I've been doing this work for about 20 years. Hashem has put me in a very unique position in this world. And I've done hundreds of presentations, if not thousands, interventions, presentations, trainings. And as much as whenever another Jew is in pain, I am in pain. And whenever another Yid's heart is broken, my heart is broken. But for all intents and purposes, I'm on the other side of the table. I'm on the other side of the situation. And now for the first time, we're all in this together. Really, ki ish echad b'leiv echad. I did a couple of weeks ago, I had a Zoom conversation, a phone conversation with my volunteers. I have some really wonderful volunteers who are helping to man our crisis line. My department has a hotline that runs 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. And they said to me, we really just need to touch base, because this is for the first time The people answering the crisis line are going through the very same crisis as the people calling the crisis line. We're going through something that's just absolutely unprecedented. And I really identify with the words of Hashem, Imo Anochi B'tzara, and like we say every morning in the Akedah, B'chol Tzaras Ham Lo Tzar. Rabbi Ephraim Goldberg, in his video message to his shul 2 weeks ago, when he had to close the doors to his shul, like a refiner had to, like so many rabbanim had to, across the country, across the world, he said in that week's parsha, he said, B'Shabbat Osai Tishmaru. Why the double lashon? So of course there's Zachar B'Shamar, but he said we have here two types of Shabbos. So we have the Shabbos where we come to shul and we hear the chazan and we daven with the kehillah and we're with our friends and we're with our family and we hear Kriyas HaTorah. And then we have this new reality. We have this new type of Shabbos where we're celebrating Shabbos at home and we have to make it leibedik and feierdik and special. And it's this new reality type of Shabbos. And I would like to suggest that it's not just the Shabbos of our new reality, but it's everything. Everything is different. It's Shabbat side. It's both. It's our roles as parents is totally different. It's our roles as husband and wife. We're taking on new roles and responsibilities. It's our jobs are totally different. It's our attitudes. It's our perspectives. It's everything in our life has changed from A to Z. It's just the new reality. Everything that I say tonight is going to apply to kids and adults. And everything that we're living through, all these new reality, all these changes, so much about it is the unknown. It's that fear of the unknown. Initially, when I was doing presentations, Hashem has had me do presentations every single night since it started. So initially, it was the fear of the unknown about the virus. We didn't know a lot about this coronavirus. The doctors didn't know. This one didn't know. We were taking precautions. We were doing things because we knew it was contagious. There was a lot unknown about the virus. Now, it's the fear of the unknown. It's the isolation. It's the quarantine. It's the being separated from loved ones, be it married children, grandchildren, parents, grandparents. It's the fear of the unknown of our financial situation. So many people are suffering financially, from the most financially secure to the most non-financially secure. It's the fear of the unknown of how many people are getting sick and really sick. It's the fear of the unknown of how many people are dying. And when there's so many unanswered questions, that alone causes a tremendous amount of anxiety and stress. When we read storybooks to our children and we don't finish, there's no ending, that causes anxiety and stress to the children. We're in the middle of a very scary story. Yes, Amiras Hashem, there's going to be a happy ending, but right now there's a lot of fear and unknown, and that alone causes a lot of anxiety and stress. For children and adults, on any good day, we thrive on consistency, structure, routine, familiar, comfortable, safe place. So much of that is gone right now. That alone causes a tremendous amount of anxiety and stress. So if we can, when we can, for our children who are home to, if we can make some type of seder hayom, some type of schedule, for ourselves, if we can stick to some type of schedule, even those little bits, so we can compensate on some type of, routine, any place, that will be helpful. But just to know that subconsciously causes stress. I heard from David Pelkovitz that once we accept our loss of control and inherent vulnerability, which, by the way, just creates the opportunity for us to work on our emunah and bitachon. But once we accept our loss of control and inherent vulnerability, we become automatically more capable of dealing with the anxiety of the unknown, which is just a very, very important starting point. So what I'd like to do with our time tonight is I've created a framework in dealing with all types of crises, traumas, and tragedies. And tonight we're going to plug in the details of this coronavirus. It's a 3-step process: educate, validate, reassure, reframe, express, empower. And we're going to go through each one and plug in what we need to know. But Ezras Hashem. So number 1 is educate. So don't worry, I'm not going to educate you anymore. You've gotten the emails, you've gotten the guidelines, you've gotten the Achiezer updates every single day. We have Hatzalah members, we have doctors, we have Rabbanim. I'm not doing another education. So is to make sure that you have the facts. You have the facts, because as many facts as there are around us, there are as many rumors. And it's very important for us as adults to stick with the facts, and it's very important to know that our children have the facts and not the rumors. Just a few nights ago, I had a conversation with my children, and I kind of brought them up to date a little bit, because the last conversation we had about the coronavirus, I was like, it's not a big deal. It's just like the flu. You know, we're going into, we're social, what's the word? We're distancing, we're going into isolation because it's very contagious and to protect each other, but like, not a big deal. And all of a sudden it's become a very big deal. And I wanted them to know it's not that I was lying to them. I want them to continue trusting me, but really nobody knew then, or that's what we thought then. And, things have changed. And I explained to them that it just, this whole situation is just showing us that nobody knows. And, only Hashem knows, and only Hashem is in control. But just to constantly, have those family conversations and have those family discussions, to make sure the lines of communication are wide open, to ask them what their understanding is, to make sure that they bring to you, any things that they're hearing, whether it's text or emails or, chats that they're on, just to make sure that those lines of communication are wide open. And for yourselves, I know you're hearing it from everyone else. You're just going to hear it from me again. And I'm talking to myself as well, trust me, but it's just not good for us. It just creates more anxiety and stress to be constantly checking, all the news and all the chats and all the updates, etc. We have very, very good sources of information in our neighborhood. And let's just, try to. Okay, next is validate. Validate is the first and most important thing that we need to do for ourselves, for our spouse, for our friends, our loved ones, and of course for our children. And once again, we are validating all parts of this situation: the isolation, the financial losses, the sickness, the death, the fear, the stress. We're validating it all. Those who have heard me speak before know this is my Torah, this is my mantra. There is no right way and there is no wrong way to feel, think, cope, react to any crisis, trauma, or tragedy, certainly not one of this magnitude that we are experiencing now. There is no right way and there is no wrong way. Viktor Frankl was a famous psychiatrist. He himself lived through Auschwitz, and he coined the phrase, an abnormal reaction to an abnormal situation is totally normal. Again, an abnormal reaction to an abnormal situation is totally normal. Okay? And there's a lot of places in the Torah that actually validate this very point. The Torah for me is my go-to. The Torah is not just a history book. It's not just a rule book, but all the feelings, all the emotions, all the situations that we go through are in the Torah. And for me, it's very important to find those places of validation in the Torah. Could you open the window, please? So there are several places that validate that point in the Torah, that we're allowed to experience whatever we're going through in whatever way works for us. One of those places I would like to share with you, and that is that when Hashem took us through Yam Suf, how did he split the sea? Did he split it in two, like the picture books of our youth? No, he actually split it into 12. Picture like a swimming pool with 12 lanes. Why? Because the entire nation was going to get to the other side together. But each brother, each Shevet had to go through it in whatever way worked best for them. And the Mefarshim actually say that those lanes, like in the swimming pool, were see-through. Because the brothers were each going through it in their own way, but they were checking up on each other and making sure the other one was okay. How validating is that? We're each going through this crisis together with our families. And we may have children, spouses, whatever it is. And the kids may look alike, we resemble each other, we're all members of the same family, but each one is so different. Each one has different personalities, different emotional makeups, different stuff that they're going through. Each one needs permission to go through it in whatever way works best for them. But yet, of course, taking care of each other. The whole family is going to go through it together while each one going through it separately and taking care of each other. And the same thing goes for the community. The community is going to get through this together, but Ezras Hashem Yisbarach. But each one of us is going to go through it in their own way. Very, very validating from the Torah. We need to give ourselves permission to be human. We need to give ourselves permission to be human. And why do I know that? How do I say that? Because Hashem gives us permission to be human. Because Hashem created us. Hashem created us with the capacity to feel, to be sad, to be scared, to be confused. Hashem gave us that permission. We need to give it to ourselves. Yes, of course, we need to bring those feelings back to Hashem, and we're going to talk about it, but we need to give ourselves permission to be human. Hashem himself gave us that permission. So it is certainly not a chisaron in our emunah to have those feelings. It's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to be okay. And again, that's not a chisaron in our emunah. Dr. Tal Ben Shachar, he's a very big trauma expert in Israel. And he speaks about the fact that it is crucial to experience the full range of emotions. Sad, angry, confused, scared. I don't know about you, but I find myself during these days to go through the full range of emotions, at least several times a day. So he says that it's very, very important to go through the full range of emotions. All emotions flow through one pipeline. And if you block one, you don't allow room for gratitude, joy, happiness, etc. And especially now, at a time like this, without our gratitude, our happiness, our joy, we're stuck at home. Yes, but Baruch Hashem, we're stuck at home with our families. It's nice weather outside. Yay, thank God I can go out and get some air. I have to make Pesach by myself. Okay, I have a fridge, I have an oven, I have the abilities to make that Pesach. There's always a place for that gratitude. There's always a place for the simcha. And if we don't allow ourselves the full range of emotions, then we're not going to have the gratitude and joy also. So again, it's a very, very important point to be able to remember. My father, Rabbi Eliyahu Safran, wrote a book on Pesach called A Study of Contrast, because Pesach is in exactly a week, Meretz Hashem. And he looked at Pesach as a study of contrast. And he talks about the fact that we do not appreciate, we don't understand, we don't feel geula unless we've been through galus. We don't appreciate light, we don't see light unless we've been through darkness. And that's really what Tal Ben Shachar is saying. If we don't feel sad, if we don't feel scared, if we don't feel confused, we're not going to feel gratitude. We're not going to feel happy. We're not going to feel joy. So let's delve into some of these emotions more in detail and see if we can see how exactly to process them and deal with them. Fear. Okay, fear, I believe, is a very big part of this nisayon. And fear is probably the most normal reaction and response to this nisayon. I was talking with my colleague, Rabbi Dr. David Fox, and he quoted the Ricanti. The Ricanti is an Italian Rishon who is also a Makubal. Well, you know what? Before we get to the Ricanti, every single morning in Az Yashir, okay, we daven Shachris, and in every single morning in Shachris, we say Az Yashir, and we talk about the Jews who watched the Egyptians drown, and they were so scared that they were shaking. Tipo alehem uma b'pachad. They were so scared that they were shaking, and those were the Jews that saw it up close. And those that watched from the back, they were also very nervous. Those that heard about it through texts and emails. How validating is that? Every single morning we say it in Shachris. We go through scary situations. We're allowed to be scared. Okay. Now let's get to the Ricanti. Okay, who is an Italian Rishon who is also Makabal, and he talks about Yitzchak, who is known as Pachad Yitzchak, and he says that the psukim that are referred to Pachad Yitzchak talks about Gevura once, mentioned Gevura once, and Pachad twice. Okay? And the Ricanti says that when Yitzchak was on the brink of the Akedah, right? I don't know about you, but when we read that parsha in shul, I get anxious. You know, imagining Yitzchak Avinu on the Mizbeach with his father coming after him with a knife, a little bit scary, right? So when Yitzchak was sitting there on the Akedah, he was kona, he accepted upon himself, he was kona, the midah of pachad, of fear. He was in a state of absolute tension, terror, fear. But he also consciously decided to face the fear, to be present in the fear. And therefore his gevura, his strength, his resilience became a healthy product of his pachad, of his fear. And therefore the fear, and it doesn't have to be a contradiction. Right? Do you hear that? The fear and the strength, it doesn't have to be a contradiction. Fear is totally normal. It's totally normal. But what am I going to do with it? Am I going to sit home on the couch and shake with anxiety? Or am I going to channel it into strength and into resilience? Gvura can be a healthy acknowledgement of fear. Strength and resilience can be a healthy acknowledgement of fear. But if it's not, if we don't channel that fear into something, then the fear is just going to remain fear. And that's something very, very, very important to think about. The fear is normal, folks. It's a very normal, appropriate response, reaction, feeling to what we're going through. But if we just let it sit and stay at fear, it's going to overwhelm us and overtake us and our children. If we're able to channel it into something positive, if we're able to channel it into strength and resiliency, that will be a very healthy response, both for ourselves, and if we're able to do that for our children, that would be incredible. A story that I always use when I talk about feelings, when I talk about responses after any crisis or trauma or loss, is the story of Sarah Iminu when she dies after the Akedah. Sarah was somebody who saw everything for the good. As a mother, I try to teach my kids, it's all good, it's all good, it's all good. Whatever it is, Sarah really lived her life that way. Rashi says about her, Kulam Shavim Latova. She saw everything that was good. So how is it that she died after the Akedah? So there are several different mafarshim, different commentators that speak to why she died. And these commentators really speak to the feelings that we could be having right now. So Reb Chaim Shmulevitz says that Sarah died from shock. Who isn't just still in a state of shock about what's going on around us? I don't know about you. I mean, I'm an adult. I'm considered to know something about what's going on here. You know, all the Unfortunately, all the tragedies come my way on my phone, on my email, and I still walk around and I say to my husband at least 5 times a day, I can't believe what we're living through. I can't believe what we're living through. That's shock. It's just very validating. The Sfas Emes and Rabbi Akiva Eger have this discussion, okay? One of them says that Sarah died from sadness, from grief. She cried out in grief, and the 6 shouts of grief that she cried out are the 6 sounds of the shofar that we're required to hear mid'oraisa. We're allowed to be sad. It's not a chisaron in our emunah to say this is hard. We're allowed to be sad. We're allowed to express our sadness. The other one says that she was actually happy, that her neshama was so connected to Kadosh Baruch Hu that she knew Ratzon Hashem was being done, and her neshama was overcome with emotion, and she died. The fact that there is both, okay, and that obviously, connects to Ratzon Hashem, which we're going to talk about. But the fact that there is both teaches us one of the greatest lessons during following a trauma, both from the sides of emunah and from the sides of trauma. And that is that our heart is a muscle and is able to expand and hold more than one emotion at a time. Okay, one of the greatest lessons, both from emunah and from trauma, after, when we're going through a crisis, that our heart is a muscle and is able to expand more than one and hold more than one emotion at a time. I will tell you that 2 weeks ago on Friday night, when this was all just beginning, when I went to Ben Shlecht, I cried and cried and cried as I lit my Shabbos candles. In the hour just before Shabbos started, all the shuls in Far Rockaway closed down, shut down. I have a lot of friends in Far Rockaway. My children's Rabbeim live in Far Rockaway. My children's Rosh Yeshiva live in Far Rockaway. A lot of our life is in Far Rockaway. And I just was so sad thinking of Far Rockaway so quiet over Shabbos. And there were tears of stress, and there were tears of fear of the unknown. What is going on? And there were tears of emunah, knowing that this was Ratzon Hashem, knowing that whatever it is that's going on, this is good because this is what Hashem wants. Knowing that there were tears of hope and excitement, feeling that this is Chablei Mashiach. And I felt very connected to Sarah, and I felt very connected to this idea that my heart was expanding and holding more than one emotion at a time. Reb Chaim Shmulevitz gives another answer, that Sarah died because she was alone. Avram, Yitzchak, Eliezer were going up to that mountain together. And even if they weren't talking about it, they were together in the experience. Sarah was told this news and she was all alone and she couldn't handle it. My friends, we are each alone in our houses. But yet, none of us are alone in this experience. Number one, we know that we are each alone in our homes in order to protect others. So in that way, we've never been more connected to each other. And number two, even though, while we each sit home alone in our homes, but yet we know that we're all together in going through this experience. Rav Shlomo Katz, who I'm very close with in Eretz Yisrael, last week he did like a Kabbalah Shabbos, like he was singing B'chadodi, and, he was going through Kabbalah Shabbos. And he, there were hundreds of people who, joined the Zoom from all over the world. And he, instead of, connecting it, instead of focusing the Zoom on himself, he kept on showing Jews from all over the world singing and welcoming Shabbos. And I really got very emotional. It was, I guess, the second Friday night of this, situation. Because on the one hand, it just made me sad to see different types of Jews from all over the world, really each in their own homes and going through this tremendous nisayon. each alone in their own homes. And on the other hand, it was just so beautiful to see different types of Jews all over the world, each alone in their own homes, but all together, we're together in this experience, welcoming Shabbos. Okay, so how are these feelings manifested? We have an acronym, and it's SCABS, okay? SCABS, SCABS, okay? And this is how all these feelings, are manifested. S stands for somatic. We see the feelings on our body, okay? What we're feeling inside is manifested outside. Headaches, nauseous, dizzy, rashes, loss of appetite, loss of sleep, okay? Again, kids and adults. C is cognitive, the way we think about what's going on, the way we perceive it, the way we experience, okay? Cognitive, the way we're thinking about the event. A is affect, okay? Facial expressions, body language. When I do trainings when I train people to be volunteers to do some of the crisis work that we're involved in. So I always tell them that, I don't remember the exact numbers, but percentage-wise, your facial expression and your body language speak so much more than your words actually do. And it's something very, very, very important to keep in mind. Now that we're stressed and we're home and we're alone, there's a beautiful pasuk in Mishlei, Kemayim hapanim lepanim, kain lev ha'adam la'adam. The heart reflects the feelings of the heart, which really means that just like the water is a reflection of what you show it, so too what you feel within is felt by all. And it's just so, so important to remember, especially in your interactions with everybody, but your interactions with children, in terms of talking about what's going on. Not only what's talking about what's going on. I know that I'm stressed about what's going on, and I need to be very careful about just what I look like, literally. I don't mean the makeup and sheitel that I'm wearing, but what my face looks like, and the mood I'm giving over, and the atmosphere that I'm creating, in the house. So I want to be creating an atmosphere of fear and anxiety and sadness, or do I want to be, creating a calm, comforting, menuchadik, simchadik atmosphere in my house? There was an email, a WhatsApp, whatever it is, that was going around actually today, from Dr. Jennifer Galligan, who is the superintendent of schools in Long Beach. And she was basically talking about, don't worry, how much your kids are learning or not learning. Don't be stressing about homeschooling them. But she said something that's really the point that I want to be giving over. She said, 20 years from now, your children will not remember the coronavirus or how much they learned or didn't learn during this time, but they will remember the time they stayed home with you. They will tell their children about feeling safe and loved and peaceful during an anxious time. They will remember the fun things you did with them, which I think is just brilliant. So it's all about the affect. Okay, B, we're up to the B in SCABS. B is behavior, crying, acting out, temper tantrums, regressive behavior in kids and adults. You have to look out for maladaptive behavior, all those, any behavior that may not be the norm. The norm, your status quo for adults and for children. Okay, people ask me all the time about crying. Am I allowed to cry in front of my children? So first of all, if you look in the Psukim, when it talks about Yosef, when he sees his brother, so it says there, I think it's 5. I think the number is 5 times that it mentions Yosef crying. So it just shows that crying is a very appropriate response to emotions. It shows that crying, is a healthy response. You can role model, that crying is a healthy response. It's a form of expression. But I will say that you can cry, but you can't fall apart. You can't get hysterical, because that's scary for kids to see. You need to kind of leave the room and do your thing and then come back. And what's fascinating is we even learned that from Yosef. If you look in the Psukim, when he sees his brothers for the first time, it actually says Vayivakesh livkos. Vayivakesh livkos. He kind of like needed to cry. He asked permission to cry. And then you follow in the Psukim. He left the room, he cried, he washed his face, and he came back, which is like amazing. And then the final S in scabs is spiritual. Our relationship with Hashem is definitely affected. We hope in the positive, and we hope there's no spiritual crisis, but we're given all this time alone with Hashem now. And, I keep telling my kids, like, use it, talk to Hashem, communicate with Hashem, go out into the backyard and, pull a Rebbe Nachman, like, spend time with Hashem. He's giving you this time. And, it's a time to definitely improve our relationship with Hashem. I saw, another one of these WhatsApp things going around, right? An amazing, really so simple, but so brilliant, that the Hebrew word that they're using in Israel for isolation is bidud. And the gematria for bidud is 26. The same gematria as Hashem. And we're just home alone, spending time with Hashem. Okay, let's go on. Reassure. Okay? Reassure. There's different levels of reassurance. Okay? I'm going to take the simple one first. So isolation is definitely confusing and difficult. Okay? We need to validate that for ourselves and for our children. So reassurance is definitely connecting in other ways that we can, okay? Just to call people on the phone, see people, know they're okay, whether it's by phone or FaceTime or Zoom. Baruch Hashem, B'lian Hara, I have kids of all ages. So my youngest has play dates on Zoom. Tonight, she actually had a birthday party on Zoom. And it's just great for her because, she's having a hard time. She misses her friends. And, just to like see their faces and connect with them, it's great. My parents, Kanai Nahara, they always like to see pictures of my kids and their grandchildren and their great grandchildren. But now even more so, I feel like, them seeing pictures of their children and their great grandchildren is just reassuring. Like they just need to see pictures of them. Like I just need to know that they're okay, and my father will send videos of learning Mishnayos with for my boys, and my mother will read story with my younger kids, and even me, like I have Baruch Hashem 2 married couples, and they each have a child, and it's just hard not to see them, and just connecting with them, FaceTime, and for older people, whatever it is, I'm saying, just to spend quality time in whatever way we can. There are a lot of people, spending Yantif alone. I know there's been a lot said about that, and any out of the box ways that we can connect with them, to send them, something cute for the Seder, whatever it is. Being alone, there's a big difference between lonely and alone. Okay, there's a very big difference between lonely and alone. So any way that we can, help somebody who's alone feel less lonely, goes a long way. Okay, second level of reassurance. So again, last week, it was enough just for me to say that reassurance is, washing hands and following guidelines and isolation and etc. And usually, when I deal with a tragedy, something that's sudden or, a real illness, I use the words rare and unusual a lot. Here, so coronavirus is definitely a rare and unusual illness, but Hashem Yerachim, there's a lot of people getting very sick, and Hashem Yirachem, the numbers of deaths, are definitely rising. So it's just, the reassurance is just getting harder and harder. I had to do today 2 classroom interventions for a father that died in our neighborhood. And first of all, just to see the kids' emotions, coming out, they were definitely, very upset about their friend's father. But it was ultimately also just a lot of the emotions of the coronavirus that was just, coming out, the sadness and the fear, that it was like, now it's in our school, it's in our class. And at the end, one little boy, was very brave, and he said the question, he's like, how do we know it's not, how do we know my father's not going to get sick and die? And he needed that reassurance. And ultimately, the only reassurance that we have for that type of question is, another saying that was going around, going back to the reassurance from last week, is that when we wash our hands, we need to remember whose hands we're in. And ultimately, the only reassurance we have is our emunah. And we've learned emunah, and we've taught emunah, and we've raised our children on emunah. And now it's time to live that emunah like never before. And every Torah on emunah and every tefillah on emunah has brought us to this place. And tzaddik be'emunah yichya. Now it's our chance to try to be that tzaddik. And I can tell you personally, very personally, that the relationship that I try very hard to have with Hashem, with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is that, Hashem, I know that you love me. I know that you love me like an only child. And I know that you care for me and you do for me whatever you think is best. And I feel such a simcha in that, such a shleimus in that. I heard today from a dear friend that she quoted that simcha is a shleimus in knowing that whatever is going on in my life, you decided is perfect for me right now. So I know that comes from your love, Hashem. But I also know that I understand that I don't understand. That there are things in my life I understand that I don't understand. And certainly right now, I understand that I don't understand. I have the great trust to be learning, to be teaching Bilvavi Mishkan Evna once a week. Very simple, very, very impactful sefer that really just helps us connect with Hashem. And just 2 nights ago on Monday night, when I really didn't have the strength, I didn't know how I was going to be giving the shir that night, how I was going to prepare. But Hashem knew that, like, the exact words, that we needed to hear. And in that night's lesson, we learned about the Chafetz Chaim, the holy, holy Chafetz Chaim. And we learned that the Chafetz Chaim, when he felt spiritually weak, when he felt a weakness. Now, what does that mean, that the Chafetz Chaim felt spiritually weak? We don't know. But that's what it said in the Sefer, that when the Chafetz Chaim felt a moment of weakness spiritually, what did he do? He went back and he just learned Bereshis, the Hashat shot, the few psukim of Bereshis bara Elokim, Hashem's story of when Hashem created the world. Why? Just to remind him, Yesh Borei Olam. Yesh Borei Olam. There is a creator of the world. He created me. He created the world. He knows what he's doing. Yesh Borei Olam. And that's it. That's it. There's nothing else. And everything else is a lot of noise, in my opinion. And there's a lot out there. And a lot of it is so good. It's good Torah, don't get me wrong. But there's a lot out there right now. And a lot of, you must be doing this and you can't be doing this and you stop everything and do this right now and this is going to stop the corona, and a lot of yelling through these WhatsApp messages and a lot of yelling through the shirim. And I just, in my humble opinion, you have a wonderful route through, Rabbi Feiner, and, through these shirim, you need to find what speaks to you. Don't feel the pressure. You know what I'm saying? Like, yesh borei olam. And, you need to find the chizuk that speaks to you. And you need to be able to give that chizuk to your children. And that's it. And yesh borei olam. But first, give yourself the reassurance. Find what works, what is going to reassure you. Remember that on the airplane, the oxygen masks, you have to give yourself the oxygen mask first, and then you give it to your child. Find your reassurance. And then, give it to your children. But remember the Chafetz Chaim. He went back to Bereshis bara Elokim and Yesh borei olam. Okay, we're almost done. Reframe. I'm going to tell you a quick, powerful, very powerful, intense, powerful reframe. So remember my crying by the candles. So that Friday night, I came to the Shabbos table and I kind of shared that with my children. And I told them the tears of sadness, the tears of Emunah, Chabli Mashiach, it's going to be hard and confusing and difficult, but it's going to bring us to Mashiach. And one of my kids said, my son who just turned 12, Rosh Chodesh Nisan, he said, but the Holocaust was also confusing and difficult. I was like, you're right, good point. And we kind of went on with the conversation. And then that Sunday was when we heard that the schools were closing until Pesach. So the kids' reactions, were like, it's not fair, we're not going to see our friends, da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, you're right, I validated, I did my job. And then I said, but you know what? I'm just thinking out loud. I said, you were talking about the Holocaust on Shabbos. I said, so we're going to be stuck at home together. You have your games, you have your bikes, we're going to have food. You might have to do some schoolwork. We're not in a concentration camp. There's not going to be any Nazis telling us what to do. I don't think it's going to be so bad, huh? And they got the point. Reframing is a very simple, powerful psychological tool. And it's just the ability to turn something around, to look at something, from a different perspective. Okay? That's reframing. And there's always an ability to reframe everything. Okay? That's reframing. Okay, express. Everybody, every child and adult needs a mode of expression in this situation, for sure, always, but in this situation, okay? This is too big to bury. And even now, even before we're past it, this is just too big. Everybody needs a way to express themselves. We cannot hold this inside, because if we do, it's going to grow and grow and grow, and it's going to burst at some point, in our lives. And that's just not okay for ourselves and for our children. My favorite line when it comes to children is that a monster, if a monster has no shape, if a monster has no name or no shape, it's very, very scary. But once you give a monster a name, it becomes less scary. Okay? When we give clarity to emotions, when we label emotions, it leads to better anxiety management. Okay? How do we do that? Talking is definitely ideal. Okay? Talking is definitely ideal. So again, Pesach is in 5 minutes, right? Pesach, Paro. The whole idea of Abdus, Mitzrayim, that represents Galus Dibor. okay, where our speech was in exile in Mitzrayim. The antidote of that, okay, the antidote of that is what? Is coming to the Seder and Magid. Magid, naming the monster, telling the story. Pretty awesome, huh? Not everyone is a talker, but you should be. We can write. You can make a Haggadah with your children and have them, write a Magid, write their own Magid. You can write a journal. You can just write a diary, whatever writing. There's always art and music and making a project, doing something. Shari Mendel, who made Aliyah many years ago when her son Kobe was killed by a terrorist attack. She wrote 2 excellent books, Blessings of a Broken Heart and Road to Resilience. And she does some amazing things with the Hebrew language, and I'm probably going to totally botch up the pronunciation. But she said that the shoresh of the word sad, atsuv, and one of the words for creation, atzvos, no, I pronounced that wrong, whatever, is the same. And the shoresh also for the word borei, also creation, and bria, health, is the same. Okay, when we're able to channel our emotions into a creation, it leads to better emotional health. Okay, and of course, self-care, whatever works for you. I know on the days when I'm able to get out and take a walk, I definitely can face the day better. Okay, and finally, empower. Okay, empower. We need to find the Nekuda Tova in every person. We need to find the little piece of light in the darkness of how each person is being empowered to face the situation. Okay, the Nekuda Tova in every single person. And I learned recently that Rabbi Nachman's entire Torah of Azamra, right? His entire Azamra Torah is what? Is finding the Nekuda Tova in every person. So Rabbi Nachman's entire Torah of Azamra is based on the small aleph in Vayikra. What is the whole parsha? What is the whole sefer of Vayikra about? Karbanos. Our yisurim, our difficulties, our challenges, our efforts are our karbanos. When we go through a challenge, when we're experiencing a karban, we must find the Nekuda Tova in ourselves, in other people. We have to find that small aleph. We have to find that Nekuda Tova. Okay? So it's, I'm so proud of the way you're doing this. You're so brave. You're, whatever it is, in ourselves, in our spouses, in our friends, in our children. And finally, I'm going to end. We are going through a major nisayon together. A major nisayon. We're going through a challenge, a difficulty, a hardship, and that's a nisayon in Hebrew. And how do you spell nisayon? Nun, samach, yud, vav, nun. And the little word nes is in every nisayon. But first, we have to validate, we have to acknowledge that it is a nisayon. This is really hard. And the greatest tefillah that we can say at that point is just, Hashem, this is really hard. I'm having a hard time. Please just help me, help us, help Klal Yisrael get through this. But we have to validate that it's a nisayon. And then the next step is we have to look for and we have to find the nes in the nisayon. What's a nes? A nes is first and foremost a miracle. We have to look for and find the miracles. And they're there. We know they are. We just have to open our eyes and find them. How Hashem is helping us through this, how Hashem is holding our hands through this, how Hashem is guiding us, how Hashem is hugging us. And a nes is also a banner. And a banner is something that lifts us up. And we will find the ways in which this nisayon will lift us up. as individuals, as families, as communities. And finally, the fact that it's Chodesh Nisan now, Nun Yud Samach Nun. I give us a bracha, all of us a bracha, that we as individuals, as families, and Be'ezras Hashem as a community, as a nation, we're able to find the Nisim in this Nisayon, in Nisan, the Nisim Geluyim, and that we are Zocha to the ultimate Nis, to the Yeshua, and to the Geula, B'mhera B'karov. I thank you for your time, for listening tonight. I just want to give you, if we can be of any, help, if there are any questions or concerns. We have a crisis line that's, again, like I said, 24/6. It's 855-3-CRISIS, 855-3-CRISIS, or crisis@highlifeline.org, crisis@highlifeline.org. And I also, if you just allow me to say, that I am Zocha Baruch Hashem through Yeshiva Atar Shimon to do a short daily message that's just some inspiration and chizuk of Torah and psychology, kind of like what you heard tonight. And you can get it through email or through WhatsApp. You can sign up through email at soulsisters@atarashimon.org, soulsisters@atarashimon.org, or for WhatsApp, you can text 516-404-7594, 516-404-7594. And I just really also want to thank all of the people behind the scenes that made tonight possible, specifically Nathaniel Feller and Yechiel Zlotnick. And you should just be zocha to use all of your capabilities for chesed and good things. Good night.
Zehava, on behalf of the White Shul and the entire community, we really thank you for your chizuk, for your Eitzer Tova, and for everything that you do very much behind the scenes. You're wonderful. You should have siyata d'shmaya and koach to continue your avodas hakodesh. Thanks again. Have a great night.